Okay, my name's Amy Pham, and today I'm going to be talking about Buddhism and personal relationships. So, more specifically, I'm going to be talking about how our everyday interactions with our friends, our family, and even our own thoughts and ourselves, how we communicate to ourselves, can come to reflect Buddhist values. And this touches on multiple concepts, including social perception, internal dialogue and communication, and social communication in general. Let's get started. Okay, here I created a word cloud. This includes some of the important concepts I'm going to be going over, and this is so you can kind of see it visually. So you can see there's sunyata, the awakening, compassion, self-discipline, Mahayana, Theravada, Vajrayana, which are the three branches of Buddhism I'm going to be talking about. You also see friendship, family, inner self, thought, mindfulness, society, and meditation, character. So this is just kind of a visual display of what I'm going to be going over. So first off, before we can jump into anything, we have to define what is a relationship in the first place. So there are three kinds of relationships that I want to go over. The first is friendships. This is a mutual attachment. It's an emotional bond between two people. A healthy relationship typically has a reciprocation of kindness, respect, and reliability. These are the core at any good friendship, long-term friendship that exists. The next kind of relationship is the ones that you have with your family. So this is defined biologically, so by blood. However, there are certain exceptions, as is with the case of extended family and adoption. But typically, it's going to be the people that live in your house. So this is most commonly your mom, your dad, your brother and sister, maybe grandparents if you live with them, but typically it's just those few. And then there's also a relationship with the inner self. And this is akin to the concept of introspection, which is the practice of looking inwards towards yourself. As defined by the dictionary, it's the examination or observation of one's own mental and emotional processes. So it's, in my opinion, one of the most important relationships that you can cultivate, because it is the backdrop for how you communicate in your other relationships. So your mental energy spreads and influences into other relationships. For example, if I have a positive mindset, I have positive mental energy, I'm going to channel all of that positivity towards how I interact with the people around me. And that's going to positively impact my relationships with those people. But if I have a bad mental attitude and bad or negative mental energy, I'm going to transfer that as well to the people around me. And that's going to affect those relationships negatively. So really developing your inner self is key to having good relationships in life. Okay, so the three main Buddhism sects I'm going over are the Mahayana branch, the Theravada branch, and the Vajrayana branch. We're going to start with the Mahayana sect, and I'm going to go into the history a little bit. And for each of these branches, I'm going to go into the history. I'm going to go over the main principles in the branch, and I'm going to go into how it affects relationships. So first, for the Mahayana, it's mainly practiced in Central and East Asia. Although now it's being practiced beyond those regions, but that is where it originated. So opposite to popular belief, the concepts of nirvana are not as emphasized on as much as the awakening. And the awakening consists of two smaller concepts, and these are the attainment of wisdom and the attainment of knowledge. This branch also includes the doctrine of two truths. This is composed of the absolute truth, which is the first truth, and the conventional truth. The nature of time is infinite. According to this branch, there's no beginning or end, and the universe is filled with countless bodhisattvas and a countless number of Buddhas. And these Buddhas are referred to as the cosmic Buddhas. And the traces of cosmology seen here can also be seen in the Vajrayana branch as well. That's just a very brief overview of the history. Some main principles of Mahayana Buddhism, the big ones are compassion and wisdom. Compassion, as defined in the Buddhist way, is the human potential to become a Buddha. So all human beings have the ability to develop their Buddha nature through understanding. So you, me, and the people around us, we all have the potential to grow towards enlightenment, I guess is a good way of putting it. But it's up to us whether or not we want to put in the efforts to do that. Another definition of compassion is the wish to protect all living beings without exception from suffering. Wisdom, the next big concept, is the sixth perfection in the paramitas. It means to understand the concept of sunyata, which is the door to enlightenment. Sunyata, more specifically, is to understand complete emptiness. And you'll see more of how that applies to relationships and what it means in the next slide. So how does all of these beliefs relate to friendships? Compassion is necessary for facilitating a healthy friendship. So in long-term friendships, it's inevitable that we may, from time to time, doubt and question the person's motivations, so our friends' motivations. And this is natural. I don't think there is such thing as a perfect friendship where you just never have any doubts. So we have to overcome those doubts, though, if we want to maintain the balance in our friendships. And we can do this by choosing compassion over cynicism. Often in relationships, people care more about being right than doing what is right. So we're putting our arrogance and our ego before our compassion, and we're distorting our reality when we do this. And when it disturbs the balances of the very friendships we seek to cultivate. So by practicing compassion, you kind of guard against this and you make yourself more vulnerable. Vulnerability is key to a healthy friendship, and compassion helps to facilitate vulnerability. Being vulnerable helps us to become more open and let go of our arrogance and our ego and to see the world as it really is, which is a lot harder in practice than most of us would think. So wisdom facilitates clarity. And this is going back to the concept of sunyata that I mentioned earlier. And this means that while there are things that exist as we see them, their physical appearance does not translate to their intrinsic meaning. So this also applies to relationships. For example, when you're having an argument with a friend and you're very heated, you're angry, sunyata helps you realize that the person is not the enemy. The physical person you see in front of you is not the enemy. Rather, it is the specific situation and the circumstances around you, the context of the argument that is disrupting the balance of your relationship. So it helps us understand or develop a separate understanding of what it is that we're truly dealing with in our relational problems. So it helps us seeing the world as it is. Okay, Theravada sect, some history on this branch. It's primarily practiced in Sri Lanka, Thailand, Laos, Burma, and Cambodia. Some people call this the more Indian form of Buddhism, whereas Mahayana Buddhism is the more East Asian form. This sect is the oldest and it's the most orthodox of the three main branches of Buddhism. And some people argue that it comes closest to the original teachings of the historical Buddha. And opposite from the Mahayana branch, it doesn't honor all the Buddhas of the universe like the Mahayana branch does, but it does still honor the original historical Buddha just like the Mahayana branch does. It is associated with the teaching of the Tipitaka, which is known as the three baskets. And you can see I have a picture of three baskets there.